Hello, everybody. My name is Lewis Lee, and this is Plan and Traffic, where we talk cars, boats, trucks, and anything you put gas in. And we have our special guest tonight, Dan Short. You all know him from TV. How's it going, Dan?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Lewis?
Great. We got my man Ray from Motormouth Radio, worldwide syndicate.
I thought Ray was your special guest.
Ray's always the guest.
I live here. Yes, and Dan, for people who don't know, we just had you on Motormouth Radio this past Sunday, and people should be able to go to our website, motormouthradio.com, and listen to that show. And it's on Spreaker, it's on iTunes, it's on Performance Motorsports Network, all over the place. So, great show as always.
Yes. Did we lose him? Dan, come back. Yeah, we got you.
Okay. Let me make sure you're my wife. And I'm not really with this thing. I'm just trying to turn the volume way down so I'm not echoing. Do I sound okay?
Yeah, you sound fine.
Oh, okay. All right.
You're good.
I'll try not to screw this up again.
No, you're right. So, Dan, tell us what's new in your life. You were on the show, 2 years ago, I think? Year and a half ago?
Yeah, it was about 2 years ago. All right. So we had been, asked 50 times to go back and do another TV show. And doing TV is an interesting thing. It's kind of getting in bed with a serpent, and you just have to figure out if the serpent is poisonous or not.
Yeah.
And so when push came to shove, I was approached by a production company that sort of saw they had our same values, our same morals. And so we ended up with a production company called C-Max based out of Virginia. And so long story short, we've decided to go in and we've been filming now for about 2 months. But before anybody, says, where are all the TV shows? It does take a while to produce a year for the TV.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So
well, Dan, you said you've had it in the past. You were filming like 20 shows concurrently.
We were, and that's because of the nature of the builds. That a lot of this reality car TV, they're actually starting and finishing filming in 4 or 5 days. In fact, there's one particular car show out there where they actually shoot 4 episodes from start to finish in 5 days. Our episode takes about 18 months to shoot. So, it's just it's an entirely different type of filming. And so that's why we routinely will film about 20 episodes at a time. As it is right now, we're filming about 6 or 8 right now.
Wow.
So, it's kind of tough keeping up because you got to remember where you are in each one sort of mentally. Obviously you're following a car, and that's what we're really doing, but you got to remember where you were mentally when you left off filming like car 7, so that when you pick up on it again, you're in the same spot.
Do you keep notes on things like that so you can go back and refer?
Ray, I'm not that smart. I'm not smart.
Well, neither am I, but that's why I make notes.
Yeah. So what it is you just, you got to sort of just stay in the game, if that makes any sense, So where, like, we just delivered a car yesterday. We just filmed the delivery sequence. Yesterday, I've lost one, day before yesterday. And then ironically, the guy, the night he leaves, calls me up and says, Dan, I need some more stuff done to my car. And so we're actually filming even after the delivery, and we've got to throw that into the mix. And I think that episode's going to release in, probably about a month.
Okay. So what channel will we be able to see it on?
Well, so we're not doing, and this is a gamesmanship thing. So of course we were on Discovery. I think in Canada it was Discovery Prime. In the United States we did a little bit of time on Discovery, and then we went on Velocity and Motor Trend. So right now we're putting together a lot of shows for doing some network or prime cable television stations, but we're actually being offered for free on YouTube. So you don't have to do anything except go to our FantomWorks page and basically subscribe and do all that crap that they talk about, smash the bell and whatever. And you do that, and our shows are actually full-length shows are going to be released right on YouTube.
That's the beauty of the metric that YouTube uses, because I watch YouTube like TV. I just was watching, for an hour and a half before I came down here, and because it's nice little 8 to 10 minute bites. I can comprehend them. I don't have to get involved with a long thing. And since I follow a lot of other car stuff, and I followed the original FantomWorks channel, it popped up. The new stuff popped up because it sees, what I watch. And that's what led me to contact you, because I said, hey, this is real. I'm looking at the dates like, okay, this is real. This is good stuff. So,
and what we're doing is we're actually filming about 5 different types of things. So where the FantomWorks show was always, you met person A, and then you saw car A, and then you met person B and met car B, and then we would go out and they would always cut from one build to the other. I mean, we're building shows just like that too, but we're also doing other things. Like, people keep asking, how do you do this stuff? So we just shot on Friday. We spent 3 hours while I took a 70-year-old car clock and I pulled it apart, and I went through the entire clock and show people how to build a clock in a car. And I'm trying to make it unintimidating. So I'm using tools that everyone would have in their house. A pair of needle nose pliers, a flat tip screwdriver, a can of WD-40, and some brake parts cleaner. And with those 4 tools, we rebuilt a 57 Corvette clock, and it works magnificently. So that's going to probably end up being like a 5 to 7 minute episode, but it's a how-to on how we do some of the stuff we do. And we're going to do how we restore paint and how we do suspension upgrades. So it's not just going to be the TV shows. It's also going to be a lot of like how we do the stuff that people want to know how to do.
That's great.
Yep.
No, I like that, because I know, in my own life and my work, the work I do at the shop, I've rebuilt carburetors since, the mid 70s when I was a kid. And I still do, and I do electrical work. And people have said, how do you know where that goes? How do you know how to put it back together? And I'm like, well, because you do it 300 times and you kind of remember. But most people are very intimidated by stuff like that. And I found that some people, if you can just show them in a non-intimidating way, in an educational way, they still may never get it, but at least they're not as afraid to try, and that's the thing.
Yeah. It's important to, in my opinion, look, the modern, you take the modern 30-year-old, and most 30-year-olds today have never changed a tire, and a lot of them haven't done any more than opened up their hood and maybe changed their oil. That would be like extreme motoring. So a big part of what we're doing is showing people, look, don't be afraid of this stuff. Just get your hands a little dirty, and a lot of it's easier than you think.
Yeah, exactly.
They even got to the point where they don't even put spares in cars anymore.
That's true.
Oh,
because I figure nobody knows how to use it.
Yeah, well, I had a guy pull up outside the shop, because I'm right on the corner of 24th Street and Hampton Boulevard, and a guy pulls in right next to my window, and I figure he's coming into the shop, and I'm looking out, and he just sits in his car, and about half an hour later, he's still sitting in his car, and I thought, okay, there's something going on here, because I walk out and I knock on his door and I say, can I help you? And he goes, oh, I got a flat tire. And I didn't notice it. It was on the opposite side of the car. And I said, are you going to change your tire? And the guy's like almost 40 years old. And he goes, I have no idea how to. I said, so we opened up his trunk. We pulled out his spare. We pulled out his jack. And in 10 minutes, we had him down the road. He had absolutely no idea what to do. Didn't even think about pulling out the jack. So,
wow.
Maybe we'll do a FantomWorks, like, here's how you change a tire. I don't know. Or, we're keep it fun, but it's like, maybe we need to do that because people don't know how to do that anymore.
And on the converse of that, a number of years ago, my older daughter was going to buy her first the first car she was going to buy. I had bought her the previous one, and we went to dealerships. We were looking for a pre-used vehicle. She wanted an SUV, and she did her homework. So we're sitting there with this real slick salesman, and I hate salesmen. I hate dealerships, but we were looking for something a little newer, and we found a RAV4 that she liked. And he's given her the spiel, and she said, okay, well, let me ask you a couple questions about this vehicle. Do you have service records that I could see? And he goes, oh, well, we can guarantee that the vehicle's been serviced. Everything is up to spec, all in the mumbo jumbo bullshit. And she's like, no, I want to see service records because I've seen things on this vehicle that don't quite add up. But I like the vehicle, and they may not be a deal breaker. And we went through a few things, and it says, well, now the biggest item is, there's no spare tire in that vehicle. And he says, oh, well, if it's supposed to have it, we'll get it. She goes, well, no, that's the thing. That vehicle comes with run flat tires. And if you look at the window sticker you printed and put on it, it says run flat tires. The car does not have run flat tires on it. So somebody traded this car in or took it off a lease and put regular tires on it. So what am I going to do when I have a flat at night and it's raining and it's right? There's no jack, there's no spare, there's no nothing. And this guy didn't know what to say. And he's looking at me. I was like, hey, dude, talk to her. I'm like, she's got the show. I'm just here for backup, And he didn't. And we walked out. We left, and we didn't buy the vehicle from him because,
he wasn't too bright.
Yeah. Well, we shook him up though.
My car that did not come with run flats and has no spares. So I called Chevrolet and I said, what are we supposed to do if we get a flat? You know what they say? You know what it says in the owner's manual?
Call service. Call for road service, right?
Yeah, that's your only choice.
Right.
Wow.
Great.
I'm not real happy with that solution, but that's the way.
Talk about not being able to be self-sufficient and take care of yourself. Yeah. Exactly. Now I'll wait for somebody else in the middle of the night somewhere. Right.
Yep. Yeah. I was at Gitco the other day, and I seen a lady putting air in her tires. So I'm getting gas. I pull around, and there's a guy sitting in the passenger seat. He had a bigger beard than mine, and he's and she's out putting air in the tires. It was cold outside. She put air in all 4 tires.
Well, I mean, this is the new generation, right? Where you're not allowed to ask what a woman is. So
right.
Maybe she identified as a tire air filling individual, and he didn't.
And maybe he was polishing his purse. Who knows? I mean, you don't know what was going on.
Never know.
Right.
I kind of got mad. I wanted to go tell them get out and put their air in the tires.
And what's interesting is some people will say they're offended by. Like if you're a man, like I will always hold a door open for a woman. I don't care if it's in a car or going into a store, right? That's just what you do. And they say some people be offended by that. I don't know about you, but I've never actually found anyone who's been offended by me opening up a door for him.
No,
not me either.
I little room for, and apparently that guy, he didn't. In fact, he wasn't following in.
Maybe it's because of where I am. I'm in New York. Not in the city. I'm out on Long Island, but just this week, I've been out with my wife a lot. We've been shopping, doing things, and I'll hold the door for a woman all the time, and for a guy too. I'll hold the door for the guy. I don't give a shit. It doesn't bother me. But the women now, they seem to be. My wife says it's the season. People are happy, but they've been very expressive. Thank you very much. Oh, thank you so much. Like, hey, it's no big deal. Just get the hell in there so I can go now because now you're holding me up. It's like and that's good to see. It is nice. But I've held doors for younger women, people my kids' age, and they'll just walk by and they won't even look up. Yeah. They don't even look at you.
Yeah. So
that's why I want to boot them in the ass as they go past. It's like, get in that store, you little pain in the ass.
Don't wish you could slam the door on. Right. Hey, so if I can tell you about a cool couple of car builds we're working on, just because we still get a lot of the coolest cars in the world that drive into our shop. So the car that we delivered days ago, a 57 Corvette, and there's a couple interesting milestones about a 57, which is when it was produced in 1957. That, and this is, I believe it to be a fact. If anyone here in radio knows wrong, please prove me wrong. But in 1957, the Corvette Fuelie was the fastest car ever in the world at the time for a production vehicle, something that America's never been able to boast again. So I don't think it's ever happened. Not only did we deliver 7 quarts of Fuelie, but it was the Fuelie that belonged to Don Yanko, the Copo Yanko, and so we rebuilt the car, keeping a lot of the things that the man had put into the car right back at Stuart Warner. Literally, we kept it just like he had it on the race. That was actually a ton of fun, and which actually go. The owner couldn't believe how fast the car was, even though 57 standards are different than 2022, and it was blown away, telling me that it's faster than a modern car. So to me, that was like a big win. So I don't know if you guys are fans of 57 Corvette. I think if you can only have a Corvette, it should be a 57.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they're a beautiful car. They really are.
So I always want to let the owner drive the car, and I always have to sort of cope with driving. I won't say fast because I don't want people to necessarily break the law, but I certainly want them to experience the car. And so we're driving down the road, and this guy's having so much fun. And I'd been saying to him, you can open it up a little bit if you want to. And he decides to open it up, and apparently he's not looking, just as an old lady's starting to cross the road.
Oh no.
And I'm looking at what's happening, and I'm feeling this car, I'm being kicked back in the seat, and the exhaust is opening up, and this horrific sound is coming out of the car as it just revs, and he's hitting 4,000 or 5,000 RPM. And this woman who was blocked by another vehicle that was going the other way. And as this vehicle sort of unmasks her, she looks at the car. I'm looking at her. I'm screaming at the guy, stop! And we missed this poor woman by maybe 1.5 feet or 2 feet. She turns and gives daggers to this poor guy. And he's like, I'm sorry. And I'm like, I want you to enjoy your car, but we probably shouldn't kill people. All of this on camera, because we had 3 GoPros in the camera at the time. I'm not sure what'll make the show, but I'll tell you, it was the most terrified I've ever been on a test drive with anyone, because I thought we were going to kill the poor lady. And I do, other than I'm screaming at this guy to stop.
That's one of my favorite parts of the show is when you do a test drive and the customer would drive, because let's face it, not everybody is checked out as well as you are, and others might be. And it was always great seeing your gut reaction to the way some of these people drive.
I've had a few of them scare the living piss out of me. I'll be honest with you.
I'm sure.
Because you're absolutely right. You don't know if they know what they're doing. And look, even when I get in an old car, I don't care if it's got 100 horsepower or 800 horsepower. I drive it like an old lady for at least the first 10 seconds, just to get a feel for it. I test the brakes. I make a couple of turns. I at least want to understand the machine before I start getting aggressive in it.
Right.
I had clients jump in cars that I've just spent 2 years building for them. They literally have not been even into second gear yet. And they're dropping it in first gear and dropping the clutch at 5,000 RPM.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking at him like, you have no idea what this vehicle is going to do, or if he even has brakes on it. And they've just got this faith, and they just hit it. And meantime, my eyes are as big as saucers, like, wondering if we're going to survive this test drive. So
the thing I always think of is a lot of these guys are obviously, by their own admission, returning to the hobby, getting the car that they lost 30 years ago. Like, what have they driven for 30 years? A Caddy, a Renault, a Yugo. Like, probably not that 800 horsepower Camaro you just built for them, and now they're going to get behind the wheel like they're, 22 again. Scary.
Yeah. So this guy, before he almost kills the lady on the road, we're in the shop, and I generally don't let clients drive in the shop, but for the delivery on camera, I brief them ahead of time. I'm like, look, when you drive out, I need you to drive out at a walking pace, because I've actually had someone in my shop drive a car into another car.
Oh.
And I mean, so I'm looking at 2 crushed cars in my shop, and the one guy that did it, he got out of the car, walked out and said, Dan, that's your problem. And
Oh.
Wow.
and he really did that, and I was dumbfounded. So I said to this guy, I said, hey, look, we're gonna drive out, but I need you to drive out slow. And he goes, Dan, I gotta be honest with you, I haven't driven a stick shift in 20 years, so I haven't driven a clutch. And I said, you want me to drive out of the shop? And he goes, no, I want to do it, I'll just take it real easy. This guy revs it up to like $2,000 and dumps the clutch. We took out a 63 split window.
Oh man.
7 Corvette as we're just trying to get out of the shop.
Oh God.
I got to tell you, every once in a while, my customers do it to me, and I get to piss razor blades.
Yeah.
They're doing
on a shop floor too, which is admittedly not the best traction surface in the world. Oh geez. Well, and I will tell you, Dave. Well, I will tell you that we in the industry, and in the music industry and in the video industry, we all borrow from each other, and it's kind of a form of appreciative. There's a better word I'm thinking of. But anyway, at the shop I work at, I do a lot of brake work. It just seems that's one of the things I do most of, and besides electrical. And I have adopted the Dan Short Danger Drive. And I told the shop owner, I taught him how to do it, and he loves it. He goes out and he just jams on that pedal, and it always makes me cringe. But I said, this is a great test, because you get so much information from that short test.
Oh, you do.
Yeah.
Now, in fairness, they only like to show that's what I call the third phase of the brake check. So I always do a 3-phase, right? So phase 1, center crown of the road, 20, 25 miles an hour, like you're driving through a neighborhood, hands off the wheel, hit the brakes fairly aggressively, but not enough to chirp it. And what I'm testing there is, a kid throws a ball out between a car, you're not paying attention, but you hit the brakes. Does the car stay true? So that's 1. Phase 2, same thing at about 40 miles an hour, just an aggressive stop. And what I'm really looking for is suspension, steering, brakes. Is anything pulling, or is it going good? But that third test, which is of course the camera's favorite, is 50 miles an hour. And at that point, what I'm looking for is what's called gyroscopic precession. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking to see if the ass end of the car is going to swing out. And I've had a few of them do it really badly.
Yeah.
To where the car, it turns 45 degrees and you think you're going straight. And that test I do, because if I've got a car that has a horrible tendency to do that, I take out every client and say, this is what you're going to expect if you ever are going fast and you hit your brakes hard. Because if you don't know what that car is going to do.
Oh,
there
you are.
Yeah, sorry, a call came in, and I apologize.
Okay.
Remember, I'm off grid now. We're living out on a farm. And by the way, I'm just going to show you something. I'm sitting at my kitchen in the window, because if I go anywhere else in my house, the phone will disconnect.
Wow.
Remember, Acres and Oliver would
on the pole,
climb the pole and hang on to the wire to make the call. I'm just about there right now in my life. So
I have it somewhere.
I'm windowsill.
So you're off grid pretty much out there, huh?
Oliver.
Yeah. We're actually producing almost 100% of our own base food, eggs, chicken, beef, pork, fruits, vegetables. I mean, we're producing everything out here, even water and electricity.
That's nice. Great. Just to jump back a half a step, I want to, on that last topic about the brake test. That was another thing that I started doing when I taught both my daughters to drive, and I actually taught my wife to drive too. And I would take them out on a damp day or a wet day or a snowy day, perfectly in the parking lot, and tell them, jam on those brakes. and they never wanted to do it. So I would do it and show them. I said, I want you to see what ABS feels like, and to do it on a wet surface or snow is very easy because you lose traction. And they said, well, why do we have to do that? I was like, because I don't want the first time you feel it to be as you're approaching another car or a bus.
Yeah.
You're going to have enough going on in your head at that time. You don't need another distraction that's going to make you take your foot off the brake. And again, it's all about just teaching people what to do.
Look, I recommend it to all of my clients. In fact, not just in their classic cars, which of course don't have ABS, but in their modern cars. You don't want the first time you've got an emergency to be the time you're learning what your car is going to do.
That's right.
Yeah. And I got to tell you, you have no idea. Look, I got tons of emails, right? I mean, and I still do, right? Thousands of Facebook messages and emails and notes. But I got like 5 guys write me, how dare you hit the brakes? You've destroyed the tires in a single brake check.
I've heard that too. Yeah.
Really? You think if the tires we're driving on are so bad that you skid one time for 40 tires? Right. I don't know where you buy your tires, but you got to stop buying your tires there, pal. Because
right.
No tires destroyed by one skid.
Yeah.
So
I always say people reveal a lot about themselves by the comments they make. So,
Well, you know what we did? We did a section, and it became the thing that stopped stupid hate mail. But I gathered hate mail, right? People that just would tell you how much they hate you for all these different reasons. And I took all the hate mail and I put it on the website and created a caption that said, "You've got a hate mail."
Yeah.
And I would leave the people's names on it and send it out. And it was amazing the response I got to it. It became like the #1 feature on the site was "You've got a feature."
Right.
So Ray, and Lewis, I'm sure you guys get some hate mail, right? Because haters gonna hate.
Yeah.
We do. And what happens is on the radio show, my partner Chris, he makes the promo that we play every week. And what we do is we like to showcase what people say when they call in. Just stupid little thing. But if someone calls and says something like, "Hey, you guys suck," yeah, that's going in there. That's going in there without a doubt. It's like, sure, we don't hide from that.
Yeah. My favorite one, and I can't remember why the guy wrote it, but my single favorite hate mail of all time is, Dan, you're a moron. I hate you. Everything about you is stupid. But he ended it with the best. I want you to suck on a bucket of balls and eat a basket of dicks. Wow, that's just like that. That's
a lot of hate.
You're like, that guy really hates me. And at that point, you're just interested, like, wow, I love the fact that you hate me this much, but what did I do to bring out this visceral emotion in you? And of course, he never answered, but I loved that email. I just thought somebody went to that length to tell me how much they hate me. And I thought, that's just awesome.
I may be able to shed some light on that because there's I watch a lot of media in different forms, on the internet and on YouTube and there's just some people that you don't like, and you don't like them on TV. I'm like, yeah, you're a jerk. And then the more you watch them and more you see them,
hard to like them.
Well, sometimes that does happen. Yes, you do change and you do like that has happened. But sometimes you like them less and you hate them even more. And it just, and I said to myself, why? If I could meet this guy or girl and sit across from him, maybe it wouldn't be so bad. And of course, you don't get that opportunity. So maybe that guy just used that to vent. I don't know.
Well, you know what? I actually met a guy who wrote me hate mail one time. I was at a car show, and I'm going through the car show, and he walks up to me, and he's like, "You're Dan Short from FantomWorks." Like, yeah, and so we get to talk, and it turns out he finally admits after a couple minutes of conversation, he goes, I wrote this thing about you, and I went, and I remember, like, he described what he had written. I remembered that. I said, why did you do that? He goes, because I felt like it. I felt like I was telling him. He goes, and it was interesting. He goes, but now that I've talked to you, I actually don't think you're a jerk. I think you actually might know a little bit about cars. And sorry, I wrote that. And I'm like, okay, fair enough, but
Yeah.
but he admitted that he hated me through a blog, but it was on something that I don't know what it was. But, when we met and we chatted, it was like, yeah, it's actually not bad. Now, conversely, I've had come to my shop, and we'll talk, and if they come and I'm busy, and I get a picture, I'm like, no, I can't get. I'm in the middle of pulling an engine out of it. Like, you are just like you are on.
Right. Right.
Yeah, get out of.
That's right.
I get it. It's actually a little fun. So, tell me, have you ever had a hate mail or something that actually got you off? I've had just pissed me off.
I'll tell you this. I know I've spoke to people, and I actually I have gotten to talk to a few people about this and talk it through. And usually the hate mail comes from jealousy. They like you have what they want, or more than they do, and they don't like you showing somebody else that. Like, who are you to know more than me? And so nothing that's really ever gotten much worse than that. But what about you, Lewis? Have you?
Yeah. I'm kind of sexy, so I get it all the time.
Oh, yeah. So they pick on your looks.
Yeah. No, well, I get like I might say something, and people will email me or text me and say,
when should I tell her
the rudest stuff about something I said. It's like the weirdest thing. Like, you really concentrate on one word?
Yeah, I figure haters got to hate.
Round 4.
You guys, I don't know if you've seen it, but the very first show we did a 63 Corvette that was getting ready for a wedding.
Oh, the one they did the hardtop, the hardtop. Yeah, that one. Yep.
So we built that car, and let me just give you a couple sort of facts of life. I spent about $98,000 to build that car. Wow. We only billed the guy about $64,000. So almost exactly $1,000 for each year. So basically, I felt bad. The guy was going to his wedding, so I underbilled him to the tune of about $30,000. I just ate it myself. And so we deliver this car, and it was gorgeous. I mean, it ran great. It looked great. It was a stunning car inside and out, right? And so, but the production crew wanted some like dirt, that dirty laundry that what is it, Don Henley talks about it.
Don Henley, right? Don Henley, yeah. Right.
So they need some dirty laundry. So they sit the guy down and ask him, how do you feel about the fact that Dan took $64,000 from you the week before your wedding? And I'm like, what a bunch of jerks on the film crew, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
So the guy says, well, yeah, that does suck. I can't believe I'm paying $64,000 for my car. So that makes air. So here I've eaten 30 grand of this guy's bill, and the only thing that makes air about his bill is how he's pissed off that he had to pay for his car.
Wow.
And someone on the Corvette forum writes the next day, and I'll never forget this as long as I live. Everyone knows you can restore a 63 Corvette for $20,000.
Oh, wow. I missed that memo.
I mean, I missed that class too, right?
Yeah.
But they wrote that, and 50 people joined in and went, you're right. 20,000 should pay for a full restoration. How dare he charge $64,000 for a $20,000 build? And I got to tell you, it took a year to get through that Corvette post, because that Corvette post went viral. And that jackass who wrote that everyone can restore a 63 Corvette for 20 grand. By the way, do you know how much I recently paid just for a pair of window trim for a 63 Corvette? Windshield trim and back glass trim. Throw me a guess at just what 2 pieces of trim cost.
Geez, I hate these questions. I don't know.
5,000.
I was going to say $5,000.
$22,000.
$22,000.
$22,000 just for 2 pieces of trim. It was a full windshield trim and a full original back trim for a 63 Corvette. And that's not even the inside trim for the windows, just the outside. So I'd like to find the guy that can restore a 63 for 20 grand, paid 22 grand for 2 window trims. Yeah. So I got to tell you, that was the feedback that almost made me walk away from the show in our first season. I was because it was infuriating, right? I mean,
Yeah.
cars and helping guys out, and some jerk goes online, and of course, they call them trolls, right?
Right.
The keyboard trolls come out, and you just have to live with their aftermath because they're just pissed off you're on a TV show and they're not.
Right.
So, all right, so let's get to a happier subject. What fun stuff do you want to talk about cars? Because we actually get to do a lot of really cool fun stuff.
I know we all notice the cars that are in the background, the stuff that's on the lifts and all. Yeah. And some of those look like some pretty fun cars. What's the story behind those? Are they customer builds or some of those yours?
Well, it's some of both. And for reasons not to incriminate myself, I'm not going to tell you what's what. Mm-hmm. But long story short, we were routinely building cars for customers, 80, 90 at a time. Well, there's only so much room even in a 60,000 square foot shop. So we got to the point where we had 110 cars in the shop because some cars are waiting for parts, some cars are in storage, things like that. So we actually had to put in, I think we put in 36 lifts just to create extra floor space for extra cars. And that's what those are.
Yeah. No, that's a great idea to do that. Yeah.
And in fact, let me tell me what, and in fact, let's put this out on the radio show because, look, one of my favorite musicians of all time, Steve Tyler from Aerosmith, his manager called me up, and we've had this relationship. They've called about car questions and car things before, but they called me 2 days ago. Are you familiar with Janie's Fund that Steve Tyler does?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So they want to auction off Steve has auctioned off some very expensive cars of his own and given the money to his charity. So he's looking for muscle cars to auction off for charity. And so, they're looking to me, do I want to donate a car for charity? And I'm thinking about it. But, so there's a question for the audience. If anybody is out there, wants to meet Steve Tyler, the Aerosmith Liv Tyler, they're doing a big auction in February, and they're looking for volunteers who want to, classic car donation for charity. So, guys, do you have any Studebakers or Duesenbergs that you guys want to auction off?
Yeah, no Studes. No.
Not right offhand. No.
Come on, Lou. How many classic cars do you own? What do you own? A couple dozen?
A couple dozen.
Yeah.
And it's behind the garage, need redone.
Yeah. That's funny.
Ray's the man. He got the stuff.
Well, no, I'm small potatoes compared to some of my friends. I know guys have 30, 40 cars, and I was just a handful of stuff that's, and only one is really nice.
What's your favorite car then, Ray? What's your favorite?
My favorite?
That you own.
Oh, well,
that you own.
The one that's done is my 65 GTO. So I kind of like that one because it's nice and it's finally got paint on it. So that's, and I've had it for 43 years. So.
Wow. What got in it?
It's got a 400 out of a 68 GTO.
Okay.
So I put it in 1979. But now, I rebuilt it and found out that, wow, all the parts I couldn't get back in the day for a Pontiac, now it was like in small block Chevy territory. You can get pistons, you can get rods, you can get all sorts of high performance stuff for good prices. So it was nice.
Very, very actually finishing up a 65 GTO in the shop right now.
Oh, okay.
Did you have the setup?
What was that? You dropped out.
Did you set up on it?
I have a tri-power setup for the car, but I do have dual quads on it now. Okay. I did it as like a 421, and now I even upgraded. I have a pair of Holly snipers, so I'm going to do dual quad Holly snipers. That's my winter project.
Yeah. Okay, just want to pump. You want to pass anything but a gas station.
It does now. That's how it runs now, but I put a 5-speed in it, so on the highway it actually is very tame. It's nice.
Yeah, miles to the gallon.
I don't. You know what? People ask me that, and I said I drive this car and rate it by miles per mile, not miles per gallon. So who cares? You know what? You live once. Put gas in it, drive it, enjoy it.
All right, Lou. What's your favorite car? We'll start with the one you own, and then your favorite car. If you could have any, and I call them real cars, right? Like, look, we would all love to own a Ferrari GTO 1962 Series 1 worth $88 million.
Right.
But none of us are going to own that. So,
right.
What's your favorite car that you own, and what's your favorite car that you want?
Okay, well, I have a 77 Cadillac Coupe de Ville.
Okay, very nice.
And if I had the money, I would. See, I love so many different cars, man. It's hard to throw one out there, but it'd probably be a 69 Mustang.
Wow, fastback.
Yeah,
with a coyote in it.
Yeah, or
Dan's favorite.
Hold on. Or one of Boyd Coddington's Vickies.
Yeah,
34 Vicky.
Yeah,
that'd probably be the one I'd jump on.
Well, the Alumatub is kind of nice too. That's a sweetheart.
That was a pretty car.
Yeah.
In fact, that was Boyd Coddington's greatest creation. Personally.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I think so. I enjoyed seeing them work on that on TV. I'd like to drop an LS in my Fiat. That'd be cool. That'd be kind of different if I could get a Fiat Spider. 124 Spider.
Yeah.
You've done those on the show. You're one of the only shows who's actually had a Fiat Spider on the show.
Yeah, we've got one in the shop now. I'm not sure that I'd put an LS in it because I got to tell you, those LSs are pretty stout motors.
Yeah, I know.
They're faster than most people are ready for, especially without traction control.
I actually was thinking, when they first came out, a supercharged Ecotec would be a cool, nice little 4-cylinder build for that car.
Yeah. Do they sell them with open source computers?
I don't know. I didn't look into it. All I know is my wife has a car now with an Ecotec, and I'm always fixing it, and chasing leaks left and right. I don't know.
Well, hey, can I throw a hint out there to Radioland on building an LS build?
Sure.
Okay, folks, I can't tell you how many people have brought me junkyard salvaged LS3s or LS2s or LS1s and said throw them in a car. And I recently turned back a 64 Corvette. We did the build, but the guy brought it to me. They had pulled an LS2 out of an old GTO. The 06 Holden GTOs,
mm-hmm.
and they threw it in his 64 Corvette. He had it at 5 different shops and had spent $20,000 just trying to unscrew the computer, the program, mm-hmm. fuel injection problems.
Yeah.
And he brought it to me, and he said, "Is there anything you can do with this?" Now, what we did was we took his fuel injection and his wiring harness, and we threw it in the trash.
Mm-hmm.
And it cost us a grand total of $2,000 to go buy the correct computer, the correct harness. We threw it on his car, did some other things he wanted, gave him his car back for pennies on the dollar of what he had spent. So folks, don't try and save junkyard computers and junkyard wiring harnesses.
Yeah.
If you're going to go with a junkyard engine, at least go back to GM, buy the GM high performance computer and harness, throw it on the motor, and you get rid of all of your problems for a couple grand.
Yeah.
So just careful of saving money at junkyards, because a lot of people will spend, 20 grand to save 5 grand.
Well, and that's why I like the aftermarket, like with this Holley stuff, because I was able to also buy their distributor, their controller. So now I have distributor control, and they're going to be around a while, and they're going to support their stuff. Whereas GM, after a few years, they don't want to talk to you about it. So, or any of the majors.
Yeah. And if you are going to go aftermarket, look, I'm a fan of the Holley Sniper over all of them.
Okay.
So
why is that? It's good for me to hear, but I'm curious as to why, because people ask all the time.
All right. So you mentioned rule number 1, supportability. And there's been a couple generations of Sniper.
Yes.
So the latest one, which I believe are on version 3, but it is the most programmable, most tailorable fuel injection system out there. But the best part is it's the most solid software. So, and I'm not going to throw other systems under the bus, but there's a lot of software out there that just doesn't function all that well, and unless you really know what you're doing, you're going to have a hard time getting, your idle characteristics, your open and closed loop programming to run right. The Holly Sniper is overall the best software, the best support, and the most tailorable system in the world. So if you are going to do aftermarket, that's our number one pick. And in fact, no, it is our only pick. If you bring us anything else, we simply won't install it. That's the only one we'll do now.
Good to know.
So it's a good system.
Yeah.
And in fact, it is the only system on like, I own some, GM, like my 67 Camaro. We're fairly close to finishing up the LS3 mod on my 67 Camaro, the first car I ever owned. The one that I borrowed $1,600 when I was 19 years old and went out and bought.
Nice.
So we're doing an LS on it, but we're building one car that I had to use an aftermarket fuel injection because we wanted to hide it, and we went with the Holly Sniper.
Yeah.
So good system. So
good to know. Good. That makes me feel better.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going with 2, right?
Yeah, I'm going with Totem, and I did find out from talking to my buddy who's a Holly tech that a lot of problems people have with the Holly is they'll use their older MSD system, and the older MSD wasn't a true. It's digital. It's a digital system. There's a board in there, but it's not a clean digital signal like the new ones are. And I know a few guys who have done this. They've installed these systems and then taken them off because the car ran like crap, and they had older MSDs. Now I've been telling them what their mistakes are. So Holly says you got to use either a new MSD, a true digital box, or their controller. I said, you know what? Give me your controller. And it says MSD on the box because Holly owns MSD. So
yeah.
They've engineered it. They've done the retro.
So are either of you real fans of MSD?
I've used MSDs in my cars since the 80s, and I can't honestly say I've ever really seen a big difference in, I don't know. I used them because I believed in them. I believed what they stood for. I believed the marketing hype. I had nothing bad to say about them. I never had one fail on me or cause my car to explode, but
Yeah.
so
Positive.
So when I built my Pontiac, I built it with a Petronix distributor and no MSD, and that's how I was driving it right now, and it drives fine. So,
okay, and why'd you choose Petronix over the HEI?
Okay, I needed any Pontiac with a tri-power or dual quad system can't fit a large cap distributor. It just won't fit.
Right.
So I needed a small cap, and I wanted electronic distributor, and I could have converted, but I said, all right, let me go with Petronix. I went with their distributor, just went with their billet distributor, and with the small cap, it fit. That's why.
Now, Lewis, what do you tinker with on your spare time? I mean, I know Ray's got his shop, I've got my shop, but how much time do you enjoy tinkering, and when was the last time you were under the hood of 77?
Earlier this summer. I haven't been playing with the car too much. I bought a school bus and I'm converting it into an RV.
Are you?
So that's been I'm gonna retire in a couple years. So me and the wife are gonna travel. So I've been really aiming towards that.
Dan, not only that, Lewis is a man of many talents that a lot of people don't know about. But tell him about some of your hobbies, Lewis. Some of the stuff you do, because it's phenomenal work.
I make a
bus because I'm contemplating something like that, and I need you to tell me the highlights and the lowlights of converting a school bus.
Okay. Well, let me tell you what I do first. I'm in my leather shop. I have a leather company where I make leather products. I make purses, wallets, bags, gun holsters, anything really out of leather.
So you're like Ralph Lauren on your weekend.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I do that, and I also do the celebrity endorsement stuff. We talked about other things like that. So I do that. And my bus. That's it.
Okay. So what year bus did you choose? A really old one, a flat face, or did you choose a traditional school bus?
Traditional. What I did is I bought a 2003 Bluebird International.
Okay. Like
40 foot.
Okay.
Looks like this.
All right.
And me being in the car industry, I called a couple of fellas, and they came from all over the country and helped me cut the roof off. So we cut the roof off, raised it 18 inches, and now I'm to the point. I'm doing the body work, and I'm getting it to the point where I can insulate the inside spray foam, and then we're going to start to build probably in the spring.
Okay, and I'm assuming you're getting.
Oh, you broke up. Say it again.
Luke.
You keep breaking up.
Yeah, we missed the end of that.
Me breaking up.
Yeah, there you go. All right, go ahead. Say it again.
So, what are you going to end up with inside your build?
Full kitchen, bathroom, shower, bedroom, living room. We're going to live in it full time. We're going full time.
Leather shop.
Leather shop. I'm building storage under the bottom that will hold all my leather stuff, and it'll pull out. Full blown RV.
So are you actually selling your house?
I'm going to give it to my daughter, and she told me we're not allowed to come back. Yeah, she said I got 2 other kids. I can go to their house.
So where are you going to go? I mean, how are you going to live in a school bus? Because obviously in the wintertime, you don't want to be anywhere up north. So where are you going to go in the winter times?
Well, we're going to chase the sun. We're going out west, down south. Now I'm building this bus to withhold 0 degrees, 5 below. We're doing 3-inch insulation, foam insulation in it. So I'm putting 2-inch insulation on the floor. So I'm going to be in there pretty warm. I don't like being cold.
Yeah.
Okay, and what are you going to use for a heater? You adding a propane heater on the inside?
No, we're going with diesel heaters. So we'll have 2 diesel heaters and a wood burner. They make mini wood burners.
You're gonna have a fireplace inside your bus.
Yeah, there's so many people doing this. You can't believe how many people are building these buses.
Yeah, I've seen it. I just I thought that was a good way to burn down your home when you have a fireplace in a moving vehicle.
Yeah, well, I ain't gonna light while I'm moving, but
well, we'll see about that in the future. If I read the story that you've caught fire driving down the road, I'm like, yeah, he said he wasn't going to light it, but he decided to.
Yeah, forgot to put it out.
So
we're also going with solar panels on the roof.
Okay.
And large water tanks, so I'll be able to go off grid for a month and a half. Yep.
Okay. A rain collection system on the roof?
No, I'm not doing the rain collection.
It's easy to do, and let me tell you, it's a great source of fresh water.
Yeah,
I would if I were doing it.
Yeah.
Unless you drive to California.
Yeah, California, they put a bill on me.
Yeah, right, they'll probably charge you.
Fine you for that, wouldn't they, out there? Because you're taking.
Yeah, probably.
Yep. So I have a YouTube channel.
So you're actually about.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I talked her into it. I initially was going to build a tiny home with shipping containers, and as I was watching those videos,
hang on, right here.
Huh?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So while we're watching the videos of the shipping containers, a bus comes by, and a guy redid it. I'm like, wow, that's a good idea. We could build a bus and travel, and live in the bus. And so we started watching more videos, and she liked certain things on different buses. So we've just been. A month later, I went and bought a bus and tore it apart. Yep.
Okay, so Lou, when was the last time you and your wife spent 30 days together in a single room?
Good question.
Yeah, it's been a while. But you know what? I'm making 2 rooms.
Okay.
I had a living room and the bedroom. She can go in the back, or I go up front, or I go on the roof. We're gonna put a deck on the roof too.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean that would scare me, because tiny living has tiny living, issues, and for what it's worth, my son and his wife and 2 daughters, they live full time in a 37-foot RV.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's
So
a
they got
lot of
4 people in it, and I'm like, there are.
Yeah.
A lot of people doing it. I watched a couple. They got 10 kids, and they're on their 3rd bus. They've built 3 buses
Wow.
because they keep having kids. They need bigger buses.
Wait a second. This wouldn't be a silver Prevost RV that you saw them in, would it be?
No. This is they have a MCI, a red one. That's the one they're building right now. But they had school buses before that, flat nose, rear engine school buses. So they went from, I think, a 38 to a 40. Now they're in the big boy.
Hey, Louis, my buddy Bill has asked me, he just realized, like I did when you said the water and all that the weight is going to be fairly spectacular. Do you have any idea what your gross weight's going to be on that thing when you're done?
Probably 28 from
Wow.
what I'm seeing from other guys. But I can go 38. I'll never reach the limit.
Okay.
The buses are sitting on a truck chassis.
You can put 38,000 pounds on that chassis.
Mm-hmm. It's a semi chassis. Yep. It has a DT 466 motor in it, diesel, Allison transmission. It's sitting on a truck frame. If you take it off and put a box truck on it, you can roll. Same stuff.
Okay, so Ray, are you joining him? Are you gonna sell your house and you and the wife jump in an RV and tag along?
No, we're probably going to be relocating a little further south though in the next couple of years. But yeah, I'm going to stay on the land and I want to have some garages and shop space. That's what I want. Maybe some chickens.
Yeah, I'm a fan of crap.
Yeah, me too.
I mean,
Yeah,
I love crap. And you can't call. See, that's one of the problems. Lou, you're gonna pull up and you're gonna find some cool stuff in a junkyard or a flea market, and your wife's just gonna give you daggers when you go to try and grab something. Just say there's no room for it.
Well, no, listen. I don't know if she's watching, but I tricked her, right? All the hobbies I like, she likes. I like guns. I like, all cars, boats, motorcycles. She likes it all.
That's right.
So I'm good. If I buy a gun, I got to buy her a gun. Can't come home with one.
Okay, so are you going to haul a trailer behind this thing to put all your, his and hers in?
Yeah. Well, I'm either going to pull a pickup truck behind it with my motorcycle in the back, or a trailer with a motorcycle in the trailer and my leather shop. So I'm going back and forth with that. So I don't know yet, but
okay. I mean, they make some cool toy haulers now.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I've seen some where, you once you drive your pickup truck out of the toy hauler, all that space, the kitchen folds into it. So there's some very, very cool creative trailers out there now. So
yeah.
I mean, so let me just one last question on this RV. When you get done with it, do you have any idea how much money in material and how many hours of your life you're going to have in it?
I didn't calculate the hours, but the money I'll probably have 35,000 in it.
That's all?
Yeah, I'm doing all the work myself. I'm building the cabinets. I'm doing everything, pretty much.
Because Louis is also a woodworker.
Yeah, I got a little shop back here where I can build just about anything.
So are you going to keep a wood shop on this thing too for doing other stuff? Or
Nah. Well, what I'm gonna do is I'm leave my daughter the house, but I'm keeping the garage. So she's not allowed in here. So when we swing back through in the summertime, I'll play in the garage and But what I initially want to do is maybe find a piece of land somewhere and build a garage where I can pull a bus in and then have my stuff in there. You know what I mean? Just one big garage. That's it.
Okay, so where's the perfect place to buy land? New York is cool. Upper state New York is gorgeous, but it's a little too winter for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it'll be somewhere warmer. I'm in Ohio. I'm just east of Cleveland. So I want to go somewhere a little warmer. Probably, I don't know, maybe Texas or somewhere out west, maybe. I don't need much. Just enough for a 40 by 40 garage. I'm good.
I mean, it's a good sized garage. That'd be a nice garage.
Yeah, just enough I can pull a bus in and then have my stuff on the side. Plug up. I'll still live in the bus just inside the garage.
How about you, Ray? You got any retirement plans like that? Or are you just going to be like me, slugging it out until you have a heart attack in your shop?
Well, I did retire 6 months ago.
That doesn't count.
I know. From the main job. So, and I'm getting older, man. I was thinking about this, like what you just said. If I was in my 30s, maybe I'd think about, traveling around. I mean, I still like to travel, but a little more conventionally, I think. But doing all the heavy lifting and the building, and I want to do just the kind of projects that I want to do. And my wife keeps reminding me, like, in another 10 years, you're going to be in your 70s. You're going to be out doing this and doing. I'm like, well, no, probably not. But maybe, maybe, God willing, Yep. So I'm trying to keep a realistic approach to it. But, I'm getting arthritis in my hands, and I'm not going to stop until I have to.
Yeah.
They'll be bringing me into the ER with wrenches in my hands because, I just refuse to give up.
Well, I got to tell you a quick story. I actually retired, in the military, I did 24 years and so I was 43, 44. And I said, that's it. I'm retiring. And I retired. And my wife said, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to sit home and watch Jerry Springer. and I really did. So I retired on a Friday afternoon. And on Monday morning, about 9 o'clock, I called her up and I said, what are you doing? And she said, I'm at work. Why don't you something to do? And so I said, okay. So I hung up the phone, and about 10 o'clock, I said, what are you doing? She said, I'm at work, leave me alone. And at noon, I called her up and I said, are you coming home for lunch? She said, no, I'm staying here. And so by the end of the first day, she came home and she said, get a job.
Right.
Got a job.
Right. Well, I do. I am in the category of I'm doing more now than I did when I was at work because I have the time to. I get a lot done during the day, and I find time management is easier for me now because I don't have that big thing called the job, the main job. I work at the shop, but that's when there's work to do and when I want to do it. So I kind of incorporate that into the other stuff I want to do. So I'm really enjoying it. I am. People tell me I look a little younger. I look less stressed. Yes, to all of that. I feel better. And I'm just kind of soaking that all in and letting it, I'm enjoying it, reveling in it,
Yeah. So Dan, we got a couple guys in the chat that come on and they would love to ask you some questions before you get off. That's okay.
All right. And my three subjects are, what is it? Politics. So as long as it's one, I don't care.
Yes. Here we go, Coach Isaac. Justin is from American Gas for Hot Rod Shop up in Saginaw, Michigan. He builds a lot of cool stuff. And Macroman, of course, is a Snap-on dealer, So, unmute, Brian. I just wanted to make sure he was awake. Unmute yourself. Brian.
You probably don't want him to unmute himself right now.
Yeah, maybe not. Oh, he'll get a hold of you later. That's all right.
Yeah. I was muted. Hey, Dan, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Hanging in there. Just trying to dry out. We've had a long day of rain.
Yeah. I think we're all in. Everybody, all of us except for Isaac, are probably in that big rain band.
No, I'm getting rain here in Ohio too.
Yeah, Justin probably not, but the rest of us.
Now we got it.
Yeah. Okay, so we're all in it. We're all in it.
We had rain and snow at the beginning of the week.
You were at the beginning of it all.
Yeah.
Arizona.
Yeah. It's been crap here. My cows, there's so much water out there, I couldn't even throw new hay for them.
Yeah.
Wow.
Where you, Dan? Where are you in Tennessee?
I'm in Smithfield, Virginia.
Virginia. Okay. Yeah, you're not too far from us.
No.
You know, still in America.
Yeah. So Dan, did my buddy Frank get a hold of you? Did you guys connect up?
I got a text from him, and I just, because he's 2 or 3 hours earlier, I usually make most of my calls at 7 a.m. and I figured he probably doesn't want to hear from me at 4 a.m. So, perhaps, this evening when I get done, you figure, well, it's 10 now. So it's only 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock in Arizona. Maybe I'll give him a call later tonight.
Okay, yeah, good guy. He comes on here all the time. We do stuff all over. He's a good guy to talk to.
Yeah, it's 8 o'clock here.
Yeah.
So guys, don't be shy. Ask him some questions.
Dan, I have a question for you. On your off-grid vehicles, on your EMP stuff that you do with it, do you make the whole vehicle like a Faraday cage, or is it just the electronics separately?
So there's two different approaches you can take. On a vehicle where it doesn't matter how big the antenna is, like for instance, the 71 FJ that we've converted, EMP, of course, is what you're concerned with is the RF energy being focused into electronics. And so the skin of the vehicle that's become the antenna, right? So if you, on a 71 FJ, of course, there's no computers. And all you've really got to contend with is an alternator and, the ignition system. So number one thing we do is we get rid of so this is where things like Patronics and MSDs and all that stuff, that's all out. So we go back with old school points condenser and then, just an alternator. If it's a generator, it's even safer. So if you're pre-65 with a generator, you don't even have to worry about, the diode, the rectifier tree inside the alternator. So EMP on an early vehicle is fairly easy. And then what we do is, and I know this is going to sound like it's cheating, but it's a pretty simple solution. You put in an extra set of points condenser and an alternator in a Faraday cage inside the vehicle. And then even if you got hit with a super high energy EMP, it would take you 10 minutes to swap out your alternator and throw a new set of points in there and you're back on the road again. So, I mean, you can burn out almost anything with an EMP, but most EMP is really going to be focused on the modern electronics, not on the old robust electronics.
Right.
So what do you do for a good source of reliable ignition points? Because the stuff that some of the stuff I've seen that we worked on some older cars with points, and this stuff was just garbage. I actually went to my stash and pulled points and condensers out to make a car run. So
yeah, and I know what you're talking about. What I is the issue that we're really talking about here, sort of the quality control coming out of China right now?
Absolutely, yeah. Without doubt.
I think you guys were talking about that on the radio show Sunday.
Yes.
Just the new parts are just garbage.
Right.
Yeah. So look, my solution to the Chinese quality control issue is to buy 5. And that's the unfortunate reality of it, though, right?
Yeah.
And the good thing is, look, a set of points is $12. So even if you throw a handful of them in a box, you got less than $100.
I tell you, going through my junk and my stash, because I'm a hoarder, I have the old blister pack tune-up kits that were at Times Square stores, and I saved a couple of these only for posterity because I would never use them back in the day. I was either a Blue Street guy or a Niehoff guy. Valley Forge made good ignition parts. I was kind of a snob with that stuff, or Delco, and I saved it for posterity because it was like, hey, look at the junk they used to sell. Well, now I'm saving that because that'll be better than what I could buy from mainland.
Oh, look. When it comes to a lot of the parts we're dealing with these days, if there's an electronic thing that's gone wrong, whether it's a headlight switch or some sort of a relay, we're rebuilding them more than we're replacing them because the replacements are failing so much the originals that we're better off taking a 50. So we're doing a lot of that.
It's interesting you say that, because when I rebuilt my Pontiac, it wasn't for that reason, but I reused as many of the original parts of that car as I could, even though aftermarket stuff, repro stuff, restoration stuff was available.
Yeah.
I did it because of the quality. I knew I had, okay, a part was 50 years old, but if I took it apart and reconditioned it, now I was confident I had something better than what I could buy out of a catalog, and I could still say I had an original GM part in the car. So
I made that mistake with my Mustang when I took it all apart, and I had reproduction fenders on it 30 years ago, and I took them and threw them away, and then I was like, oh, I'll just get fenders, and I bought fenders, and everything is garbage. I mean, I wish I could find the 30-year-old ones that I threw away, because they were far better than what you buy today.
Very true.
Yeah. We had a client that came in, and he had put an aftermarket, a Chinese hood on his Camaro. And I watched him, he asked us to paint it. We painted the hood up, and it looked beautiful. And so he comes into the shop, sees his vehicle, and the first time he closed the hood, I don't know what he did, but he didn't use the flat of his hand, which is a technique that I've learned, but he basically closed it like with his hand kind of in a way to where his fingers were pressing in, and you could see where every finger on both of his hands put dent into the brand new hood that we had just painted. Because so, yeah, you got to be careful about this new stuff. When people talk about, well, you can get all the parts. Well, number one, I don't agree with that. But even if you can, half of them you don't want anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah. So that's why it's sitting there with no fenders.
Right.
That's terrible.
Yeah. It's crazy.
So, Justin, how have you guys been dealing with the parts issues? I mean, I know you use a lot of aftermarket stuff, but have you been getting bit with bad parts?
All the time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a new part, and new means never ever worked. So
smart man said that.
Yep. So I mean, we're doing a lot of the same thing. If there's something that, yeah, it might be an original, but we can put some work into it and save an original part, we're going to do it.
A funny story. I've told this before. You guys have probably heard it. I was doing the dash, and I took my headlight switch was out. And I said, okay, there's copper brass contacts in there, and I wanted to look at them, dress them, clean them, preserve them. So I pried the little ears off the housing and we took it apart slowly, and then it went sproing, and about 10 balls and springs went flying around the garage. I was like, oh shit, what did I just do? And luckily, my co-host Joe at the time worked for Standard Motors, so I sent Joe a text, hey, can you get me the engineering drawing for a GM headlight switch? And he sent it to me. And with the help of that diagram and only 2 additional hands, I only needed 4 for that, I was able to get it back together. But what a job, man. That was tough.
And if I got to tell you a story that an old man taught me. He's like a 92-year-old mechanic. And we were working on a Harley one day, and he says, Dan, we need a spark plug. And I said, yeah, I've ordered some. And he goes, oh, no, you don't have any old spark plugs? And I'm like, you can't use old spark plugs. This guy, he goes into some old box and grabs, an 80-year-old spark plug, cleans it up, and he says, these will work just fine. And I had no idea that basically his rule was, you never, ever throw a spark plug away. They're good for the life of the car.
Really?
So, unless the electrode's burned up, you can use it. So on my original 47 Harley, I now have, 1940s spark plugs in my Harley. And they work just fine. So just an interesting point. I had no idea that some parts aren't as throwaway as we thought. Because my dad taught me, you use a spare set of plugs for 10,000 miles and you throw it in the garbage. Apparently that's not the truth. The spark plug will last for literally the life of the engine.
Wow.
So I just thought that was rather interesting, that some of these parts really don't go bad. On the other, a lot of the new stuff, it's bad before it even gets out of the box. So, you know,
Yep.
I'm just a fan of the old stuff.
Okay, that's the problem. You start cleaning stuff up, making things neater, and I misplaced my original Harley oil cans and spark plugs that I had up on this shelf back here. I don't know where I put them, but yeah, I have a couple of them too. And I keep a drawer of used spark plugs in the garage because I have the old, spark plug blaster, and I'll clean them, recap them, and put them back in. And you're right, unless you burn them out, they will still work.
Yeah.
The only problem we ever had is if you took the glaze off the porcelain on the spark plug, and then, like I said, if you ran really rich, you'd foul them out pretty quick. That was on the older German stuff. You had to watch out on those, but the plugs would last forever, though. You're right.
Sure.
Yeah.
So
and then with the older Harleys, what plugs have you seen the best results with?
They're actually made by Harley.
Okay, the Harley plug, yeah. Because with aftermarket stuff, I always found Champions to be the best running plug in the older Harleys, at least the ones I had.
Yeah, I think all I've got is Harley plugs in them now because the man, basically straightened me up and he said, don't use anything but these. So,
right.
Now they're not cheap. Let me tell you, a good set of 1940s Harley plugs is $200, and that's just for 2 plugs.
Well,
so
the good thing is you only need 2. Yeah.
Yeah, you're pay $100 for them, but they'll last forever. So,
right.
I mean, that's what we use, and they're just fine.
Sure.
Learn something new every day.
Yeah. I go through a lot of different plugs and then wires. I mean, and that was one of the things that always got me, how ignition wires got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. We're up to like 8.8 millimeter wires. And then you see a DIS system that has like a 4 millimeter wire on it or a 5 millimeter wire. And you go, whoa, what just happened here?
Yeah. I think that has to do with obviously the conductivity of the wire itself, right? That like 7 was the standard. And then I think when we went to electronic ignition, it became like 7.5. But then with the newest electricians and MSDs, it all became 8 millimeter. So
and then it went to 8.8. Yeah, I had a lot of 8.8s Excels. And now you look at what the newer cars have, and it's much smaller. And you say, wow. And yeah, the same thing has it's hit me with vintage audio gear. I restore audio gear and speakers. One of the things we always learned through the years was, the bigger the wire, the better. And the monster cable. And the reason is, it's less resistance per foot. So, you're going to transmit sound or energy, whatever. But you take a loudspeaker apart, and I don't care what manufacturer it is. I'm talking the top tier loudspeakers, and they have like 20 gauge wire in there that runs to these speakers. It's like, wait a minute, I'm running monster cable on the outside, and they're running this thin little wire. Even with car audio, if you take a car system apart, you'll see small. Look at the wire they run. It's tiny.
I didn't realize
that.
Yeah, that is interesting. Okay, so you're gonna have to explain that one to me then at some point. How that.
I'm actually waiting for somebody to explain it to me, and when they do, I'll certainly let you know because it breaks all the, all the stereotypes that I grew up with. But take an old speaker apart. I actually have one apart in my workroom next door, but I have just the drivers because I'm going to re-foam them so that the wires are not in them. The wires are upstairs. Otherwise, I'd show you.
Can you rebuild an old set of car speakers? Like, these, you take an Impala, like a 68 Impala, and some of those, they were like a 2x9 speaker, a really odd form.
Right.
Can you rebuild those?
The problem with most of the speakers is the foam around the driver is what dries up and goes bad. So if I could get replacement foam for it, I can do that. But I don't think you're going to find it for those speakers. Typically, it's the round foam, and they're in pretty much standard sizes.
You can't cut the foam to shape?
Well, you know what? Hang on. I'll show you. I don't think so, and I'll show you why.
Well, I'll bet you those speakers that are odd size like that probably have the round foam, but it stretches out when you put it in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So is he talking about the foam up where it's basically the front of the cone touches the metal frame?
Yeah.
He'll show us in a minute.
Yeah.
Ray's got it.
All right. I'm staring at it on a phone screen, so So Ray's going to be like Ray. He's a 1/4 inch tall.
All right. So here's the driver I took out of an old set of Allison speakers that were made in England, and the phone was removed because I took it all apart. So that's all gone. So what they sell you is this, and if you look, it's got a contour to it.
Oh yeah.
It's got it's because this raised section is what's going to let the speaker give and move on the woofer.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's why this is the most important part right here. It's not a flat piece. So that's why, maybe in the car you could get away with a flat piece of foam more because it's not going to see a lot of power. And it's not going to have it's not going to drive like a loudspeaker.
Is that just glued on, Ray?
Yes, there's a special. Well, they call it a special glue. I have it. It almost looks like Elmer's glue. It's a white kind of pasty glue, and then when I do it, it ends up looking like pinhead because I use alligator clips, 100 of them. Actually, what I do is you have to center that. This cone can move. It can move around a little. It's on the voice coil. What I do is I put a 50 hertz tone from a tone generator into this thing just to keep that cone alive, and then I center the foam on it and tack it down. And this, because if it's off and you glue it and it dries, then when you power this thing up and try and drive it, put power through it, you'll get a crappy sound. It'll sound like a blown speaker. So,
All right.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a technical question, Ray. Have you ever heard, or anybody out there ever heard of Aurora Design?
There's so many companies that are called Aurora. What do they do? What do they design?
All right. So about 80% of the customers, when they leave out of my shop, they want the original radio in their Studebaker, their Packard, their Camaro, their Mustang, or their Challenger. They want the original radio, but they want it upgraded with modern electronics and Bluetooth in it. And so Aurora Design is the company that actually builds the boards.
Okay.
And I have called Aurora Design, which I think they're in Ohio. I've called them 50, 60 times, sent them emails, never had a response back. So right now I don't have any way of buying boards to modify people's systems, and I'm looking for anyone out there who's got a source for it.
Okay, so you do the conversion yourself. You actually you do the internals yourself in house.
Yeah.
That's cool. I know custom auto sound is another one of the big ones. I'm actually looking to do that, to redo the radio in my Pontiac to keep the original radio. And I'm not a big Bluetooth guy. That's more Justin's deal.
I was about to say, we do.
I still want a CD player. I'm old. What can I tell you? I admit it. I'm a slave to my habits. And I just haven't found a company yet that I've decided I want to throw in with. I'd rather be able to do it myself, like Dan is saying. So maybe I'll start shouting out Aurora Design myself. I'll see if I can get somewhere. And
well, Aurora is like 45 minutes for me. So next time I'm up that way, I'll try to see if they're there.
Yeah, if you could. I mean, I got to tell you, these guys, I have done everything I can short of sending a carrier pigeon.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to buy some more components to build radios, and I can't get a hold of anyone. It's like the whole company is just folded up, and yet I'm pretty sure it's still there.
Maybe you got to send a Scud missile, not a carrier pigeon.
Maybe that's what it'll take. So
a little bit of ordnance that way, get their attention.
Yeah.
So Dan, the from watching the TV show, from watching the show and talking, so basically you do everything on the car. Do you try to rebuild everything first before actual replacement, or is it just it comes down to what the guy says? If the guy doesn't care, do you just save the parts for when you need them, or I guess what I'm asking is, do you try to save everything first, or are there people that just say just replace everything because they think new is better?
Well, anyone who comes to me and says new is better, we sit down and they have to sort of listen to a Dan Short lecture where I explain to them sort of the truth of especially this modern COVID world. So look, if we're doing an LS swap, that's an easy one, right? Pull the motor out, put an LS in. So you're not going to try and fix anything. But if it's not something like that, we're probably rebuilding about every single part that is rebuildable. In fact, we go to the point where on many of these cars, we're actually rebuilding the original shock absorbers. So we actually go to kind of that level on many of these cars. So
yeah, because I love taking stuff apart. I just sometimes I don't get it back together.
that is the harder phase, right?
Taking it apart's easy. Putting it back together to make it work right is that's a whole other discussion. I come from that generation, like most of us. It's to repair, to fix something, repair it, put it back in service, keep it in service. Now it's repair by replacement, and I hate it. And my wife now knows, like, hey, listen, can you fix this? And I'll tell her, look, chances are maybe, and I'll tell her, first of all, I have to get it apart. And if I can get past all the plastic punji sticks and pitfalls they put in there, so I don't totally break the thing, because they're not made to be taken apart and put. Some stuff is fused. I said, so I can cut it open. Yeah. I said, so if you don't mind, like glue and maybe some duct tape holding it together, because it's not made to go back together.
Yeah.
Inside is going to be pretty easy. Electronics are easy.
Look, one-time use, right?
Exactly. Repair by replacement. And I absolutely hate that. They forced us into that type of system. We went from, the greatest, the greatest society in America with, after the Industrial Revolution. We made everything, and we could repair anything and keep anything going. And now it's just, go back to Walmart, buy another one. No.
Oh, it's sad. My favorite story of that is my wife at one point, when she had our son, she wanted a sedan and she fell in love with a 528 BMW. So we got her one. And let me tell you, BMW is the greatest car in the world for about 40,000 miles. And then the things start happening. And so somewhere around 45,000 miles, the pinion bearing goes bad. So I call up BMW and I said, I want to buy a pinion bearing. And the sales rep just laughed and said, all right, I understand you've got a bad pinion bearing. And he came back and he said that's like $5,185. And I said, no, I just want to buy the bearing. He goes, you don't understand. You have to buy the entire differential to get the bearing.
Wow.
Only way BMW sells the bearing. So I said, I'm going to outsmart BMW and I'm going to go find, we ripped it apart and I got the dimensions on the bearing. A proprietary bearing by Fag Bearing Corporation in Germany is the only company in the world that made this bearing. And we called Fag Bearing and said, will you make us one? They said, we'll sell you if you're willing to go on contract for like 10,000, I'm going to sell it. Otherwise, go to BMW. So we were stuck and we had to replace the entire differential just to get a bearing.
They do that with electronics too. And many companies have been doing that for years, where they'll put they'll design a microchip to drive whatever circuit it is. And what they'll do is they'll put a part number on it, but it's and I know this because I worked in part of that industry where we did this. Their in-house proprietary part numbers on it. And if they do happen to buy it from Siemens or from Intel or from whoever, they'll burn their number and name off and then silk screen their own on. So as a repair person, you look at that and now you're screwed, because you can't look it up in the data chart and find, the comparable part. You have to go to them.
My 4000 was that way on the steering linkage. They had a small U joint, and of course Audi, you had to buy the whole shaft, and it turned out a yoke from a John Deere tractor had the same U joint, and that's what we put in them, and it solved the problem. But coming from those German cars, they don't like that. Actually, on the newer cars now, BMW has a light that tells you it's time to replace the rear end or the differential. It comes on at 120 or 150,000 miles, and you just replace. Even if it's not making, you can't reset the light. I mean, the light's telling you it's time to replace.
For that kind of money, it's getting yanked out. We're putting a 9-inch in it.
Yeah, there you go.
That's what we're doing.
We had a Bentley in the shop one time, and the client he's got his 70,000 mile servicing he needs. And we went through the Bentley manual. Do you know how much a 70,000 mile servicing costs you on a Bentley?
Ooh. No,
A
like
lot.
$1,000 worth of materials. I was like, I'd get a different car if I were.
Yeah, that's like Ferrari services, you know.
Yeah.
Jeez,
it's out of
Yeah,
control.
that's crazy.
Oh, and then my favorite part, one of the a valve in the evap control system was bad in this Bentley. It was made by Isuzu. Yeah,
Wow.
we found it through the Isuzu dealer. So I thought that's interesting. I didn't realize Isuzu was making Rolls Royce now and Bentleys.
You know. All right. So speaking about weird parts interchanges, just because that came up, just so you know, for your edification, a Fiat Spider, you know, has a 4x98 millimeter bolt pattern, which is an oddball bolt pattern for the wheels. There are only 3 wheels that'll fit a Fiat, and I know this because I did it, is the Fiat wheel. Yugo is the other one, and God knows nobody has a Yugo that has a wheel that wants to be put on anything, or a Maserati.
Oh yeah.
So
Really?
I have Maserati bi-turbo wheels on my Fiat because they're super light. They unsprung, and they use a steel insert where the lug bolt goes instead of having an aluminum surface. So they're phenomenal wheels, and you can get them on the market. You know, I bought them used, fairly cheap. So yeah, Maserati, Yugo, or Fiat. Go figure. So
Yeah,
it doesn't really, you know, surprise me.
That could be a show by itself.
Yeah.
You probably know this, but a lot of the Ferrari parts are actually very common. It's Ferrari, Lamborghini, and Fiat.
Yes.
So we had to buy a lot of our Ferrari parts from Fiat, you know, sellers. So
I was sitting in my car one day. I was up on the North Shore where the rich folk live. And I was summer, I had the convertible top down, and a guy pulls up next to me in a van at the light, and I could just tell he was looking my way. You know, I feel it. I just feel it. And I kind of glance over a little, and he's looking, and then, you know, finally he gives me a thumbs up. I'm like, yeah, I wave. And he says, hey, nice car. I'm like, who, me? Like, really? He's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, thanks. That's cool. He goes, what model Ferrari is that? I was like, whoa. I said, all right, you're in the right family. It's the cousin. I said, but this isn't I said, if this was the Ferrari that it even slightly resembled, I wouldn't drive it because it would be worth, you know, $6, $4, $5, $3 million, whatever.
Yeah, right.
I said, what made you think this was a Ferrari? He says, well, I see the F on the side of the car. Like, that's for Pininfarina. That's the designer who designed the car, who's also Italian. I said, no, Ferrari, you know, it's the print, the horse whole thing. So I said, but thanks anyway. You know,
sure.
like,
wasn't the head on the Fiat designed by Ferrari?
The cylinder head? It could have been because they're cousin cars, cousin companies. It's very, very possible.
Well, I mean, hasn't Fiat owned Ferrari since like 65?
They always went back and forth. And, you know, I met a gentleman near me years ago. I've since lost touch with him. An older guy, and he spent he worked for for Fiat in Italy. So, because he was born there. But he spent half the year in Italy and half the year here, where he worked at the airport. And he collected cars and restored them. So we swapped some parts, and I bought some things from him. And he had an automatic version of the Spider. And I said, you know, I've always heard about these cars, and I never saw one. And I said, God, who would buy an automatic Spider? And I asked him, what transmission is that? Because the shifter looks kind of familiar. But, you know, what automatic did Fiat ever have? And he goes, oh, it's I forget what the number is, but it's the transmission that was used in the Chevy. What the hell is a small car out of the 70s? Oh my God.
Vega?
No, not the Vega. The other one, it was a little bubble thing, the little car.
Corvair?
Not a Corvair. In the 70s, the car was, and well, anyway, Chevette. It was in the Chevette. I said a Chevette. And then he said, well, yeah, because GM owned 33% of Fiat through the 70s. I said, I kind of remember hearing about that, but I never saw anything that substantiated it. So when Fiat needed an automatic transmission, somebody called America and they asked, hey, can you help us out? Because we don't have any automatics. And they said, well, we got one out of the, the Chevette will probably fit. And I don't know what they did with the bolt pattern on the bell housing, but that's what's in the automatic Spyders.
Wow.
Well, when you said who would want an automatic Spider, you see, up until about 5 years ago, I said, who on earth would ever want an automatic Ferrari or a Lamborghini? And guess what? I think that's the only thing you can buy now is automatic transmissions in them.
Yeah, unfortunately, right.
Like Aston Martin no longer produces a manual transmission. I believe that Lamborghini no longer produces one. And does anyone know, does Ferrari even produce a single manual transmission in 2022?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
Well, that's the thing is the way the thing I know about it is as automatics started to near and then eclipse the performance of the standard transmissions because they got better. And then with paddle shifters and things like that, it just took over.
Well, but there's more to driving than how fast and how many millisecond your shift pause is, right?
I agree.
That's me. If you're not pushing the clutch in or figuring out how to shift without pushing the clutch in, then you've missed most of the fun of driving.
Well, another one of the things people have said to me all these years is I've always had manual transmission cars, and they say, gee, how do you drive that? How do you drive a stick shift every day? Doesn't it get to be tiring? And I said, it's like the Blues Brothers. When Jake asked Elwood, how often does that train come by? So often you won't even notice it. And I said, that's the thing with the stick. You just do it so much you don't even know you're doing it. It's just total muscle memory at that point.
Well, but
when you're driving a sports
amazed.
car, the best part is when you're going into a corner is rolling through the gears, playing the gears, and downshifting and then upshifting, coming out, screaming out of the corner.
Right.
I had walked into the Honda dealership today, and I walked in, and a guy had a transmission out and had this ball of hair. It looked like a rat got tangled up inside, and it was a clutch disc. All chewed up, And I was like, wow. I said, and of course, I'm underneath the car, so I never really looked at it when I went in. And I was like, oh, you got a classic in here. And he goes, yeah, this is a 2020.
Wow.
It only had 10,000 miles on it. And I was like, holy smokes. And I said it was a manual. I was more amazed that it was a manual transmission in a 2020 in a Honda,
My buddy Bill was telling me that he thinks Porsche is the only vehicle now that comes with a manual, by the way.
No.
Still. No, they don't? Okay. Sorry, Bill.
No, the only person that I know, or the only car, and they made the announcement when they released the new Mustang, was that they're keeping the manual. They all wore the T-shirt that says, we're having, we have, we have manual fun or manual something. Their T-shirt said
manual manipulation.
But the
Nissan
they're the only
400Z.
ones that I know that has a manual transmission on a new car. But Porsche did away with the manuals a while back ago.
Okay.
The Nissan 400Z comes with the manual. In fact, the automatic is an option.
Wow.
Well, hey, guys, I got to jump ship because I got to wake up early.
Okay, Lewis.
Dan, appreciate you coming on again. And listen, I'll tell everybody, your family, come on anytime you want to share or just hang out.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. It's been a great time.
We're here every week.
We're here every week, every Thursday,
and we're not done yet. So, you can hang it,
you're about to hit the after party with Ray.
Well, I'll hang out for a few minutes, but I've got. I don't know if you've been hearing it, but can you guys hear my goat screaming behind me?
No.
You can't.
No.
Oh, if you were here, you'd swear you're in a New York neighborhood, and there were women out there getting stabbed and beaten because it sounds like that property. Because
Like this show? Want more? Then head to WatchPTTV.com, the new 100% free PowerTube TV streaming network. Home of the best classic and new motorsports racing and build shows on the web.